I saw a very moving and a excerpt on YouTube from Becoming Elizabeth, in which there was a scene of in which they were ridiculing Mary's Catholic faith. They had this little skit in front of Edward VI, in which the Pope, a representative of the Pope, was being defeated in a quasi gladiator skit. And they asked Edward VI, do you give him the thumbs up or the thumbs down? And Mary was sitting there with her rosary, and she was in obvious, extreme emotional torment. And Elizabeth, who of course did lean more towards the Protestantizing version, but had affection for Mary, who was after all her half sister, was looking at her with some compassion. But Edward VI obviously was enjoying the skit, and they asked Lady Jane Grey, first they asked Edward VI, do you give him the thumbs up or the thumbs down? And then they asked Lady James Grey, and she said, thumbs down, he is the Antichrist. And then Edward VI said, thumbs down. And Mary, of course, was almost ready to faint, and she fled the scene. Now, there's a kind of irony in this whole thing, because Edward VI's mother, Jane Seymour, wanted reconciliation with Rome, and if they couldn't have reconciliation with Rome, she wanted to keep the Anglican Church as Catholic as possible. She was very, very conservative, not Protestantizing in her religious beliefs. Okay. But of course, she died shortly after giving birth to the longed for Edward VI. And he was raised and influenced by very strongly anti-Catholic, anti-Pope relatives who really kind of poisoned his mind against the Pope. Now, had his mother survived, it's possible there wouldn't even be an Anglican church, because he might have been, she might have kind of on a subtle level convinced Henry to reconcile with Rome. But of course, she didn't survive. Or she might have convinced her son to reconcile with Rome, because she was, very Catholic. But of course, history is always full of what ifs. And there is an irony in there, in that Jane Seymour was very, pro-Catholic, and her son was radically Protestantizing. But again, history is always full of what ifs. And anyway, I just thought I would put that out there.